The glamorous facade of Hollywood has always been a world of illusion, a carefully painted masterpiece of perfection and control. Behind every red carpet smile and paparazzi flash lies a machinery built on image, ambition, and ruthless social strategy. But that illusion began to crumble, not from scandal sheets or secret leaks, but from the words of two men who had lived inside the machine: Kanye West, the visionary and volatile architect of modern music, and Scott Storch, the producer whose beats defined an entire generation. Their revelations didn't just expose the secrets of celebrity life. They cracked open the truth about how power is built, traded and sustained in Hollywood's golden cage. And at the center of that truth stood two women, Kim Kardashian and Paris Hilton, whose intertwined stories redefined what it meant to build an empire from reputation alone. In the early 2000s, Paris Hilton was more than just famous. She was the blueprint. She embodied the fantasy of inherited glamour, the heiress whose name alone could turn a party into a global headline. Paris didn't need validation. She was the validation. Every appearance, every scandal, every photograph of her exiting a limousine in a sparkling dress became part of a new kind of celebrity, one untethered from talent, built instead on attention. The world had never seen anything like her before, and yet in the quiet corners of that same world, a young woman named Kim Kardashian was learning the rules. She wasn't born into Paris's world, but she was determined to enter it, and not as a guest. She started as Paris Hilton's assistant and stylist, organizing closets, fixing outfits, and fading into the background of the glittering chaos. But while the cameras followed Paris, Kim was studying. Every conversation, every calculated smile, every paparazzi setup, she absorbed it all. She understood that fame wasn't accidental, it was constructed, and she was learning the blueprints from the master herself. To many, she was invisible then, but invisibility, in Hollywood, can be power if you know how to use it. Scott Storch, who had worked closely with Paris during her peak, later revealed what most people never saw. In interviews, he described Kim's rise as something quiet but intentional. He recalled how she first stayed in his guest room, just another face in a crowded circle of privilege and talent. But that stay evolved. She made it to the master bedroom, as he put it. To outsiders, that might sound trivial, even petty, but in Hollywood's ecosystem of access, it meant something deeper. It wasn't about romance, it was about proximity, the art of being close enough to opportunity to touch it, to study it, to become it. Kim was not climbing socially, she was infiltrating a hierarchy. It was a move that symbolized everything about her method, subtle, deliberate, and almost invisible, until the results became impossible to ignore. By the late 2000s, Kim was no longer the assistant, she was the headline. Reality television became her battlefield, and Keeping Up with the Kardashians was her weapon, a show that blurred the line between authenticity and performance so perfectly that it reshaped television itself. She understood something the world hadn't yet caught up to. In the age of media, your life could be your business, and your image could be your empire. But it was her marriage to Kanye West that transformed her from reality star to cultural institution. When the two married, it wasn't just a union, it was a merger. Kanye, the creative force who had already reshaped music and fashion, saw in Kim the perfect canvas for his vision of modern royalty. Together, they built an image that dominated culture, her style elevated by his artistry, his brand amplified by her influence. It was, for a time, a perfect synergy, beauty and brilliance in the same frame, feeding off each other's power. But power, when shared, always comes with tension. Kanye's personality, explosive, unpredictable, and unfiltered, eventually turned the fairy tale into a battleground. What began as collaboration evolved into competition. He shaped her aesthetic, she mastered the narrative. He saw himself as the architect, she became the empire. And when the empire began to stand without him, the balance shattered. The collapse became public in 2022, when their divorce spilled into headlines. What shocked people wasn't the separation, it was the rawness of Kanye's words. He began to weaponize Kim's past, dragging Paris Hilton's name back into the conversation, as if history itself were ammunition. In interviews and social media posts, he declared that he wished he'd had children with Paris instead of Kim, a statement loaded not just with bitterness, but with coded class and hierarchy. It was as if he was saying, Kim, for all her success, was still the assistant, still the shadow, still climbing. The attack wasn't random, it was surgical. by invoking Paris, the original heiress. The untouchable social elite Kanye wasn't just insulting Kim, he was undermining her entire narrative of self-made success. He was reframing her rise as imitation rather than creation, a calculated attempt to rewrite her story as a tale of opportunism instead of transformation. It was a brutal reminder that in Hollywood, origins never die, they linger like ghosts, waiting to be used. But beneath the spectacle, his words exposed a deeper truth about fame, that in an industry obsessed with lineage and access, those who build their own ladders will always be judged by those born at the top. Kanye's remark, "She was an assistant, bro," became more than a jab. It was a reflection of how Hollywood still measures worth, not by what you achieve, but by where you started. Scott Storch's earlier revelations, revisited in this context, added weight to the story. He had unintentionally drawn the first sketch of Kim's rise, a portrait of a woman who navigated the system with patience and precision. But Kanye's retelling sought to erase that nuance, to turn ambition into betrayal and strategy into shame. His bitterness became a lens through which the public was invited to re-examine Kim's entire legacy. Yet Kim didn't respond. Neither did Paris. Their silence was deafening, not weakness but strategy. In a world where attention is currency, silence can be the highest form of power. By refusing to engage, they denied Kanye the control he sought. They understood something he seemed to forget, that the story belongs not to the loudest voice, but to the one who outlasts the noise. Paris Hilton, now a businesswoman in her own right, looked on from a distance, the teacher who had once unknowingly mentored her rival. She had reinvented herself in the digital age, transforming her brand from party girl to mogul, much as Kim had done after her. Their stories were reflections of each other, mirrors in a hall of fame and ambition. Both women had learned to survive in a world that fed on their vulnerability, turning scrutiny into strategy and scandal into success. But what Kanye's public meltdown revealed most of all was how fragile masculinity can become in the face of female power. His words weren't just aimed at Kim, they were an attempt to reclaim control, to rewrite the narrative in which she no longer needed him. His regret about Paris wasn't about love, it was about hierarchy. In his mind, being tied to an heiress carried more prestige than being tied to a woman who built her empire from scratch. It was the old Hollywood thinking that bloodline beats hard work, that legacy beats hustle. But Kim's existence disproved that. She didn't inherit fame, she reverse-engineered it. She didn't wait for permission, she built the stage herself. Her story is not one of scandal, but of strategy, the relentless pursuit of visibility, the understanding that power isn't given, it's taken quietly, consistently, and unapologetically. She mastered the algorithm of attention before anyone even knew it existed. Every outfit, every appearance, every headline was a move in a game she was playing long before the world realized there was one. And so when Kanye tried to reduce her to the assistant, he unknowingly highlighted the very brilliance that made her unstoppable, that ability to start from the periphery and move, step by step, to the center of global culture. Hollywood is full of such paradoxes. Its stars are both idolized and devoured, loved and loathed. What makes Kim and Paris unique is their ability to manipulate that duality, to be the spectacle while secretly controlling the spotlight. They learned that fame isn't about being perfect, it's about being undeniable. In the end, this isn't just the story of two women and a man, it's a reflection of Hollywood itself, a system built on illusion, constantly demanding that you perform not just for the world, but for survival. Every friendship becomes an alliance, every romance, a negotiation, every silence, a strategy. The feud, the revelations, the betrayals, they're all fragments of a larger truth. In the world of the elite, ambition is the only real currency, perception is power, and the past, it's never buried. It's a weapon, waiting for the moment someone decides to use it. Behind every viral headline lies a story like this, one not of scandal, but of strategy. And in that sense, Kim Kardashian's rise isn't just a story of celebrity. It's a case study in survival, proof that in Hollywood, the true art form isn't acting or music or fashion, it's reinvention. And that art, Kim mastered better than anyone.